There we go. And with that, I would like to call this meeting of the town board of the town of Northeast New York to order. Today is Thursday, July 10th, 7 o'clock. And I would like to ask you all to join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you please sign that? Sure. Like the hostess with the mostess.
Tilly, could you please conduct a roll call
Yes, Supervisor Cannon,
here?
Councilman Morrison,
Here.
Councilman Fideli,
Here.
Councilwoman Winkler,
Here.
Councilman Mayville.
Here. Thank you very much. I have distributed and posted an agenda for the meeting. I have two amendments to the agenda. I would like, we have an attorney-client meeting at the end of the meeting, and I would like to ask for an executive session to discuss pending litigation against the town. And I would also like to add an item to the agenda for a presentation by PCA on IT services that they offer to the town. So with that amended agenda, I would ask for motion to approve it. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Right, thank you. The next item on the agenda is public comment on agenda items only. Hearing none. I will continue. With the supervisor's report and some comments.
Call for,
I did.
I'm sorry, I missed that. I wouldn't,
Okay. Public comment on agenda items only.
I have an agenda item.
Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry. I handed a sheet of paper, two-sided sheet of paper to all board members. I think you all have it. And I know that tonight we're going to be discussing zoning revisions and particularly adding EMD signs or LED signs as permitted signs. And I've sat and watched deliberations around this for a while. And it seemed to me that it might be helpful for me to propose some ways of thinking about it that you might use in your discussions. So that's what I handed out. What it basically contains is a few different sections. The first says, quotes the purpose statement for the Boulevard District. And I think the important area there is that it says, one of the purposes is to enhance the overall quality of the area with an attractive streetscape and to promote architectural design compatible with the historical character of the village of Millerton and the surrounding community. So when you're discussing LED signs, I think it's important to consider whether they achieve those goals. The next comment is actually a quote from the town's planning expert, who has said, "Please note that the more I learn about EMDs, the more negatives I learn about them." And he proceeds to list the negatives. And then he basically says, LED EMD signs have a greater impact towards distracting than on the environment, particularly at night. So that's another discussion topic. I'm not sure if everybody has seen that already, but our own planner recommends against it. Then I have a few comments on the specifics of the language that's proposed to be added. It's not, the first one is it's not at all clear whether EMD signs are supposed to be allowed in every district or only in the commercial districts. The way it would be added by just sliding it into standards I think it would be allowed in every district, which would certainly be a problem. And also, there's no indication of what the size of the amenity sign should be. I personally think that if you allow them, they should not be allowed to be as big as a regular sign. But that's something that needs to be discussed. And then there's a ton of technical problems in the language that's proposed. For example, it says all ENV copy characters or other changeable images shall be of the same color with light copy and a dark background. So what's a dark background? That's very subjective, right? I could say, well, red is dark, particularly compared to white. I could say blue is dark, and I could say, red, blue, and green stripes are dark compared to white. So is that in intent, or is dark supposed to be black? Then I'm going to go into engineer mode for a second. It says all ENV signs shall contain a default mechanism that will cause the sign to revert immediately to a black screen with the sign malfunction. I can tell you that, yes, you can put in a lot of fail safes. I will bet that 99% of the manufacturers don't put them in there. And that if you would ask an applicant to demonstrate that the sign has these fail safes, they'll simply get a letter from the person who's selling the sign, or the company who's selling the sign, saying there are fail safes. I would say if you want to have that in the language, you should say that the manufacturer shall stipulate that feature is there and can explain the nature of that feature, because otherwise I don't trust it. Then the next part, it says that it describes how the light level could be measured. And it says the light level should be measured so that it won't exceed a brightness of 0.2 foot candles above ambient light measured at the nearest property line. Well, if you think about that for a second, ambient light, right? We have ambient light in this room right now, and we have a flashlight and I shine it at you. Well, okay, the flashlight is brighter than the light in this room. What if I have a candle and I light that? Well, it's not brighter, and that's because the light in the room is bright. The ambient light can change. Sometimes it's bright, like on a bright sunlit day. Sometimes it's dark, like in the middle of the night. It doesn't specify what the ambient light is, so it's basically useless. Additionally, it says measured at the nearest property line, and if you think about the way these signs would be installed, they're going to be installed at right angles to the highway, which means that drivers who are driving towards them will see them. But the nearest property line is actually going to be the edge of the right of way, right where the sign is. So that means you'd be looking edgewise onto the sign, and you won't even see the LEDs. So that doesn't work. So that's a real problem. So I would say that this whole section on how to measure the brightness and what the right brightness is was not written by somebody who knows what they're talking about. So that part really is something that you guys should discuss. And the last thing that I wanted to say is, what is the reason we want or need these signs in our community? I've heard a lot of reasons about why we could have these signs, how we could have these signs, but nobody has stated it in my recollection, other than lots of towns are doing it. A proactive reason why we want to have these signs in our community, why they're important or helpful. And I think in the absence of that coming out of the discussion, there's no reason to do it, because as you can tell, there's a lot of risks associated with it. I've talked about the risks ad nauseum. So, I hope that, you can come up with a reason to do it, as opposed to trying to look for ways to push aside the reasons not to do it.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Any other public comment on agenda items only? All right. My comments. We just have a few. First of all, we have had a committee of board members who have been reviewing our emergency services plan. And the committee has met several times. I have met with them. They've been getting useful information from, I think, from other towns, from the county and from the state. It's an ongoing process. We should have an emergency services manual or information for the town supervisor. In case of an emergency, and we should also be looking at emergency information for our residents. The two are not the same. But they are working on both of those, and I am really grateful to them. This is the kind of thing that is easy to let lapse. Nobody really thinks about it until there's an emergency, and then people are running around looking for the emergency services plan, and how do we reach the county sheriff, and how do we reach county DPW, and how do we reach the state police need them? So it's very important work, and I really appreciate this ad hoc committee. Another task force is the town's Climate Smart Task Force, and they have been working in conjunction with the Hudson Valley Regional Council on a program to put biofilters on the landfill, the town's landfill. As people who have seen the landfill know, it has these candy cane vents where it vents the landfill. And when we did our Climate Smart work a few years ago, trying to find out the most significant sources of the most significant municipal sources of greenhouse gas emissions. In other words, not residents, but what we were doing. To our amazement, we found, like, far and away, the biggest source of municipal greenhouse gas emissions is a 20 or 30-year-old closed landfill. As material in landfills decomposes, it creates gases, and those gases will continue to emit basically forever, although they will approach zero at some point. Anyway, our Climate Smart group was really ahead of the game in starting to research ways in which municipalities could mitigate these emissions. And we found that there were some technologies, some very simple technologies that were being applied in other parts of the country, essentially using a way of filtering the gases through wood chips or charcoal or some organic material like that, which degrades the methane very significantly. Only a few of the vents in our landfill are emitting significant amount of gas at the moment, but some are. And what was really great was that when the Hudson Valley Regional Council heard about what we were doing, they said, there are other towns in the Hudson Valley that might be interested in researching the same thing. And they sort of put the word out, and we now have a consortium of, I think, 10 different municipalities on both sides of the river that, through HVRC, made an application to US EPA for some funding to look into constructing, evaluating and constructing these biofilters. And the good news is that EPA did make a grant to the Hudson Valley Regional Council for this purpose. I'm happy to say that that grant appears to be still intact, which was not a foregone conclusion. And that work is going to be starting up fairly soon. And Chris Fahmy Steve Fahmy is from our CAC has been working on that. Also, just in the paper, there's an article in the paper today that's coming out today about the Climate Smart work that has been helping the village. And I encourage you all to get the paper and read it, so I won't go through it, but basically, I think we've been very helpful to the village. They've lost a lot of equipment in their fire. And this is a great opportunity to replace that with some electrical equipment. And the one piece that is really, I think, gonna be fascinating for everybody to know about and to see is that there is going to be a GPS controlled electronic mower, which is going to be able to mow the soccer field, which is great because the soccer field actually does need to be mowed frequently. For a good soccer field, it needs to be, you can't get long and needs to be mowed a lot, and that would be very expensive if it was done by a person. So there are these wonderful lawnmowers now that know exactly how big the field is and where they need to mow, and you'll soon see that thing running around the soccer field. Lastly, at our last meeting, we appointed 2 new members to our ethics, Board of Ethics. And at some point in the rest of the summer, I am looking forward to convening that board. And one of the things that we will do, in addition to just sort of getting started again, where first of all, we will coordinate with Warren, who is also the attorney to the Ethics Board. But we really want to have a get together, talk about the ethics law, not so much the ethics law, but particularly the materials on our website, which help people understand the ethics law and would help them if there's an issue that they feel needs to be brought to the town's attention, would help them learn how to do that and how to file a complaint. With that, we have some financials, get out of the way. I have budget adjustment number 4 of 2025, A fund. An expense increase of $25,000 less a revenue increase of $25,000 for a net of 0. B fund, town outside, an expense increase of $2,000 less a revenue increase of $2,000. With that, I would ask for motion to approve budget adjustment number 4.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. I have a special abstract dated June 24th, 2025, totaling $1,451.49, broken down as follows. A fund, $1,451.49. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the special abstract.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I'm just gonna pass this around. Get your John or Jane Hancock's. And, I can't believe we're in the second half of the year. I have an abstract dated July 10th, 2025, totaling $158,074.99, broken down as follows. A fund, $84,501.57. B fund, $22,506.01. DB fund, $50,490.43. T and A 2 escrow, $300. Payroll T and A, $276.98. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the abstract.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Mhm. The voucher committee for August will be Chris Mayville and Lana Morrison. Can't believe we're getting into August already. I thought the year just started. One of the things that will happen is in August, the town begins its budgeting process. And we'll be talking more about that as at the August board meeting. But I think there are a lot of reasons for us to be being particularly careful with our budget this year, getting a lot of input from both the county and the state as to, potential impacts that could reach the town. And we're going to be looking at those very closely. Department and committee reports. Highway. Bob, you got a report for us?
We have the shared paper enrolled this month, and we'll be using that on Silver Mountain Road, Valley Hill Road, Trip Road, and Briarwood Lane. There's some shared paving for Grand roads for Old and Stone.
Okay, and I know you've got some mowing going on.
We've been busy mowing, yes, we got way behind. I think with the mowing tractor being broke out for 5 weeks, but with the help of a rented mowing tractor, we're starting to catch up a little bit.
Good. So as I understand it, we have both the rented mower and our own mower now back.
Yes.
So we can really,
2 people.
get stuff done now, which is great. This is something that is of concern, needs to be of concern to us, because when the vegetation grows up very, very high right next to the road, it creates a sight distance issue. And it is really amazing in the latter half of June, how fast that happens. It just suddenly, almost overnight, is 2 feet tall. So I'm glad that we have both mowers hard at work. Our assessor is not here, so there's no assessor report. Town clerk,
Yeah.
Tilly.
Yes, so I sent you the planning, zoning, building reports. There was no ZBA report because they didn't have any meetings last month. And I did put in the copy of the dog warden's report that just came in late. The town has received complaints about shooting noises from the gun club from Dave Decker. They were dated Friday evening, June 27th at 8 PM, Sunday afternoon, June 29th at 4 PM, Saturday, July 5th, early evening, Sunday, July 6th, 4 PM, and 2 complaints from July 9th in the early evening.
Right, and he's asked that those complaints be noted,
Yes.
so they are being
Yes.
noted.
Yes. Another thing is that NBT is hosting a shred day on Saturday, the 19th, from 9 to 12. We could use 3 drivers we have 13 boxes and there's a 5-box limit. So, yes, Saturday, the 19th. It's not this Saturday, it's next Saturday, 9 to 12. So you could do that? That would be great.
10,
Okay. And,
unless we
May.
pull our car in again.
That would be great. It's
I'm
it's
aware,
wonderful
yeah.
that the bank is still doing this, as Sunny Salisbury Bank did. And as we digitize and go through the files that we have, this small little town hall generates an incredible amount of paper, even in this digital age. And so we have been working very hard with really old files, which are no longer legally required to be maintained. To get rid of those when each year another group becomes eligible for being shredded, and they do get shredded. They do not get just tossed at the dump.
one more thing.
Yes,
One more thing. Today I was presented a petition from the Northeast Millerton Library. To place a question, shall the annual contribution of the town of Northeast for the operating budget of the Northeast Millerton Library be increased by 50,000 to the sum of 225,000 annually? And this is going to be put, you don't have to do anything about it. I'm gonna get it sent to be put on the November 4th ballot to be voted upon by the residents of the town. And as far as tax collector, we have turned in the 2025 tax unpaid roll to the county, and the books have been closed on that.
Okay, moving on to town board committee activity. Big increase. The recreation committee, we have an item on the agenda for that, so is that all right if we push that instead of doing it twice? Housing committee, Neg,
Okay. So happy to give a follow-up on the program we talked about, in some other meetings called, it's the New York State ADU +1 program. That is actually, New York State Homes Community Renewal has issued, this is the third year that, but this is the first year that Hudson River Housing is actually the administrator for 10 towns in Dutchess County, and the town of Northeast is one of them. So we're really excited about this. We've been waiting for more information. There was something that we posted called applications are coming July 14th for ADU grant applications. There was an outreach a little bit for interest. Just to give you a little overview, these are grants that it's to expand housing within existing neighborhoods. Our zoning does have it. We're tweaking the wording of our current zoning to, instead of ADU, accessory dwelling apartments, it'll be accessory dwelling units. So this is to support also aging in place, having places for folks to be able to get supplemental income, offering more workforce housing options. So the grants themselves are going to be directly to households, and the town's role in this will be to really communicate to the community what this program is, have some public sessions, will be the point people and some of the questions that we will then guide people towards Hudson River Housing. These awards go up to $125,000 per household. A fee is paid to Hudson River Housing, so the household could get up to $112,000.5, so, or $112,500. So the goal across these 10 municipalities over a couple of years is 48 ADUs. So basically how it works is it's for new builds, conversions of like a basement or garage, modular or tiny homes if allowed, and bringing existing unpermitted ADUs into code compliance. What's exciting about this is open to folks who make anywhere from low to moderate incomes. So it's based on a annual median income. And for example, could be considered generous for some people. Like a household of 2 people, you'd make $118,000 a year, and 3 people, $132,000. So this isn't necessarily going to pay for something brand new, but it could really give a nice help to folks who want to add this to their property. And the homeowner must live in one of these in their home for the entire 10 years that they have to commit to it. They can rent it to a family member or to others. If it's a family member, they don't have to get rent for it, but they have to have a lease. And then, there's some other things, key details that we'll be going over in these, in our information sessions, but Hudson River Housing will be assisting our community to give a presentation between now and September. However, the grants do open up the application process next Monday. So we're waiting for that official announcement to put out into the public, and then we quickly have to give some info. Basically, this is really, what's great about it is, these eligible ADU projects, as I mentioned, cover all these types of ADUs. And we'll be showing them, they can be detached, attached, above your garage, in your basement. So everything has to be, of course, building department approved. But the nice thing is also Hudson River Housing will be working with our community to actually help with the being the interface with our building department, with developers, with construction folks, and help the resident get through this process. So it's pretty exciting. And I know we already had 2 people without even advertising. And I believe with our recent advertising of this program, they've gotten a few more people.
And I put it in the town supervisor email.
You did, yes, thank you.
So that
And we
went out
have it on the
to quite
town
a few
website.
people.
Yeah, and so, as more info comes out, it's important. I'll speak to you, Chris, about like, maybe I'll do a presentation at the village. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Okay,
And we'll let everybody know when the informational session
yeah,
will take place, which will be in the next 2 months.
yeah,
Basically, they'll be coming out and we'll put that out for people who are interested, can really get the details.
yeah,
Which it's important to get the details from as close to the horse's mouth as we can get.
yeah. And then, everything goes, all the applications, all the screening, all the review process goes through Hudson River Housing. So we're just the conduit to them for our
Mhm.
community. So it's good news.
Thank you. I mentioned the Public Safety Committee earlier. And I think Chris, you and Ralph were on that committee. And you met here on on the emergency services
Right.
manual. Want to leave it at that, or do you, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you covered it in your supervisor's report. I mean, it was a very preliminary discussion, but I think a lot of good ideas came out of it and a lot of follow-up needed, so we're meeting again on the 22nd, so hopefully we'll have more of an idea of how to frame out amending our current plan to meet the needs.
Well, as I think we all know, this is important to have. And so it's much appreciated. And then lastly, the Communications Committee, I think, is that Meg and
Chris.
Chris. And we have a piece of the
Presentation.
agenda, which is that. So do you want to just wait and move to that when we get to it?
Yeah, so we'll wait for Bob. Is that okay?
Yeah. All right. With that, we can now move into the heart of the agenda. And the first item is a review of the proposed Altice franchise agreement. The town had an informational meeting a month ago before our last board meeting. It was not a public hearing. It was simply an informational meeting with our attorney. And we had copies of Altice's proposed franchise agreement to distribute to people. We have looked at that. It's been just, the board has had it now, that proposed agreement for a month. At that meeting, we asked our attorney if he could give us his input on having, I'm sure, negotiated 1 or 2 of these in your career. As to his view of this franchise agreement. We will be wanting to make suggestions to it. We may have some edits that we want to make to it. Roger Connor's here from Altice, and I appreciate your coming out. And we can hopefully help us as we go through this. But in the meantime, what I'd like to do is start, Warren, with any thoughts you have about it. And when we get to the point that we have an agreement or a version of the agreement that we feel good about, we will be getting back to Altice and to Roger. And hopefully have something that we can then hold a public hearing on and approve. The renewal comes up this fall. We're on it. on a very timely way at this point. We still have time. But this is an important, this is important. Most households have a, you know, at least I'd say most households have a contract with Altice and, otherwise known as Optimum. And, so it's an important item. I think most people, are not sure exactly what the relationship of the town is to Altice. And this franchise agreement does explain that, but maybe Warren, you can explain it in plain English for us.
Yeah, we don't have a relationship other than a contractual relationship. To permit Altice to function and provide cable service throughout the town. It's a non-exclusive agreement, so theoretically. Other providers can come into town and petition the town for a franchise agreement. In my experience, that's not likely to happen. Usually, you're pretty well stuck with the company that's has been servicing the town, has their infrastructure already in place. And it's unlikely that anybody else, another provider would come into town. I reviewed the agreement, these are fairly standard. This one differs somewhat from ones that I've had experience with, but essentially there's nothing unusual or concerning about the agreement. I've gone through it. I have a lot of points that I'll probably want to negotiate with their representative and change. Most important point would probably be the definition of how we compute our 5% franchise fee, which we charge to Altice, and it's paid usually in a couple of installments over the years. I'm going to want to negotiate a change in their definition of gross income, how they compute that. There are a few other provisions in here about the extension of services. They have an agreement to extend the service to all areas in the municipality, which have a density of 25 homes per linear mile. I'd like to see that at 20 homes per mile. Those are the type of things that I'll be discussing with them. There's some language issues in here that I'm sure will be non-controversial. We can deal with that. There are some issues in here which are not addressed by Altice that are subject to negotiation, such as the provision of free cable to the certain aspects of the municipality. We don't have a list. I'm assuming we don't get free cable right now. And there are certain, they should be providing free cable, certainly to the Newtown
No,
Hall.
I believe that we do get free cable.
So we get it, it's not in the agreement, so I just want to make sure that's covered. I'd like to see it provided to the highway department also, not done. So things like that, which I'm sure I can work out with Altice. How you want to approach it. Most municipalities open it up for an initial public hearing, so the public can come to a meeting with a representative of Altice, answer questions, and hear the concerns of the public. In my experience, those public hearings usually address inadequate service and why are we paying so much for Disney, non-responsive to power outages, those types of things. There's language in here that provides for that emergency response, and there's some good language in here about meeting with the town on a periodic basis. So it's it's not unusual, the agreement. And I'm sure we can work something out, but, I don't know if the Representative Maltese wants to make a pitch to the town or, supplement what I said. But my advice would be to have an initial information public hearing, for the public to introduce, the agreement, have people see it. Have the public make some initial comments on it. So we can be guided as to what concerns are and what we have to address in this agreement. There may be some concerns about expansion of service. There may be areas of the town that are not serviced that have to be addressed. I don't know if the initial build out was ever that was proposed when we had our first franchise agreement has been achieved. But we can hear the public, we can hear those complaints. So I suggest an initial just public informational meeting with a representative from Altice to answer questions and provide a sort of a dog and pony show. We can take that information back and I can work with their representative to amend the agreement. And then we get to a point where it's in final form. And then we have another public hearing where the public comes in and will address the agreement in final form before we vote to adopt that. Once it's adopted, it has to be approved by the Public Service Commission. That usually takes a while, at least a month. I don't know the time frame is on that.
More like 3,
How much?
more like 3 months.
3 months, yeah, it takes a while. You know, I think this is gonna be fine. I think we'll be able to negotiate a good agreement with Altice. And I'll be in touch with them to work on this, do my preliminary markups of the agreement, things that I want addressed.
Couple of thoughts. One thing I want to just make sure is very clear to the public. Because I've been asked this, could somebody else come in and offer the same service? Yes, they absolutely could come in. They would have to string miles and miles and miles of wire. And that's basically the reason it's, you know, but there's nothing to prevent a competitor of Altice from coming in here. And that's, you know, just I want to make sure that that's crystal clear because people think it's a, you know, it is a monopoly, but it is not exclusive. And that's, I just want to make sure people know that. I'm glad you mentioned the density issue. We are a very rural town. So people are very spread out and there are places where we have fewer than even 20 houses per mile. So I want to come back and look at that. I did reach out to a neighboring town about their experience, and one of the issues that they raised was a concern about the repeater boxes that are on the poles. In a power outage, I believe, and this is where I'm getting over my skis, but I believe they have battery packs in them. But the neighboring town said it is very important that those batteries be maintained. Because if they're not in a power outage, then there is no ability for even that signal to get through. So let's say in your home, you actually had battery backup for your computer or something like that. If the cable signal and the internet goes out, unless those repeater boxes are maintained, you might not have any signal. And then lastly, sort of goes without saying, but Warren, as you have a discussion with Altice, obviously the board wants to be involved in that.
Of course.
I know that was what your intent was, and bring it back, your thoughts and your discussions with them.
Yeah.
But we have Roger here, and Roger, if you have anything you wanted to say to us at this point, you're welcome to.
Warren described everything very accurately and succinctly, and I'm in line with the plan. We can meet review. Refine the document down to whatever open issues might be remaining for the board to consider. And then hear what folks have to say at the preliminary public hearing that we can take back and incorporate into the document. And it's a very solid plan. I'm looking forward to working with you on it.
If we, just to move this along, we could have an initial public hearing at our next board meeting. It should be in August.
We could do that, we have,
It should be-
we have the agreement, I'm
Have-
not gonna be, we're not gonna have a marked up agreement or a changed agreement.
Right, but
Should
to
be
get
the initial
public
agreement.
to, you said that the first step would be to get public input.
Yeah, I'd like to hear what the public has to say.
We did have a public informational meeting and it was, we had some people who came out,
Yeah, it was
which I
good.
appreciate. Happy to do it again.
Mhm.
We did not have the benefit of having a representative from Altice at that, so it might be helpful to have that. Would you or somebody else be available on the 14th of August?
I can,
You could?
and if Frank, Oliva from the district vice president for government affairs, if he can make it, he will.
Okay, well, maybe if we put it on his calendar far enough ahead,
Exactly.
that'll help.
I'll let him know.
I think that would be good. I think in that case.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, this is cable TV service, this is not internet,
The
although
the
the areas
franchise,
that are served by cable, that's how they
right,
most get their.
yes, the cable franchise agreement. The payments to the town are based on cable. Not on internet.
Right.
So
That's something I didn't understand completely until I started digging into this.
That has to be diminishing, I would think.
They are.
Yeah.
Well, they are to some degree.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I would think that's diminishing with the ability to stream based on internet.
It is.
Yeah.
And I think the FCC has to catch up with how technology is advancing in their regulations. But right now, we're still complying with regulations that haven't been updated in 10 years easily.
Mhm.
Yeah, the other thing that I do is, I normally I'll be sending a copy of this agreement to the Public Service Commission, which will eventually approve it. But there is an office there that's helpful to review to make sure that there are no glaring mistakes in the agreement. And that it complies with the current rules and regulations. And they've been very helpful in the past in reviewing these things, so I'll be taking care of that.
Okay,
All right.
great. Any other comments from the board? All right, anyway, thank you, Roger, for coming out and.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you or when Frank or both of you
Next
in
month.
August.
We talk to you.
Good to see you again.
Yeah.
Take care.
Okay, the next item is concerns the recreation contract with the village. And what I have distributed is a copy of last year's recreation. We have not received a proposed recreation contract for this year. The village has proposed essentially the same contract as last year, with a 3% increase. And I know that you've had a chance to talk with the mayor. And I look forward to your.
Yes, Alana and I discussed them along with the village, and really the only change, like you said, is the proposed 3% increase. The town doesn't have its own recreation program or facility, so this contract is our way of having that for our residents. Town residents are able to utilize all the village amenities for recreation at no cost.
Nothing is really, they aren't having their summer camp. They
Yeah,
did have
Yeah.
it last year, which that was the first they've had it in a few years, I think.
And I think the
But now
and the reason for not having it this summer, just so everybody knows,
it's
was
because
the
of the
plan.
pool. Right, and they're not sure when that's all gonna start.
Right,
Yeah, I think she said it wasn't gonna happen, at least in the Millerton news. or in the
yeah, there's a
meeting.
story in the news, I haven't
Yeah.
read it yet,
I
but
haven't
I
read it.
saw it.
But initially, the plan was the construction was supposed to happen during the summer, which would have made it not possible for them to do camp.
Right.
But they do intend on getting a recreation director again and having those programs when they're able to. And she did stress none of the contracted monies are going towards the construction and renovation at the park.
Mhm. I think that's important to stipulate.
A lot of their money goes for the maintenance of the parks and the
Mhm.
different parks throughout the village.
Right, okay, so. Questions?
Yeah, so I just have a couple of questions. So this next contract is backdated basically to June 1st, I believe, 2025 to end May, which is their fiscal year. Does this represent a contract with the village to provide the rec program for this current summer or next?
I believe the contract was for this year.
So based on that, I have an issue with this dollar amount because. For a couple reasons, it's not accurate, we knew in our meeting in, May, we talked about in our rec program. In reading the village's meeting notes in April, the mayor announced that the town had honored a $40,000 contract. Even without a rec program, and that's in their minutes. And then their budget is very itemized. And the budget that was approved for their fiscal year starting, they do not have $70,000 worth of services out of that budget for the rec. The director herself is himself 26,000. The summer camp is 40,000. So out of that, I just don't think this is accurate. And I think I'm very much for paying for the parks and the maintenance and rec when it happens, but for this fiscal year, I would like that to reflect not having a director and have this dollar amount go down. And if we have it in our budget, then we hold it for next year and don't increase. I mean, I just don't think this is accurate. And I don't think it's itemized to show anything like landscaping for the parks or if it's just maintenance up by the schoolhouse or I mean, their budget is extremely itemized for these things. So I personally could not support how it currently reads as just an update of last year, because we don't have a director, we don't have any of these things. So for next year, yes, all the way. But I just think it's a bit strange, to be honest, that they're asking for the same amount for services that will not be provided. And we know that, right? So this is already July.
Well, the only thing they're not having their summer camp, but they still have a rec, I mean, they have all the expenses for their park and the rec. But I mean, they've got the soccer fields, they have a lot going on,
But I did
right?
I did add these up, okay, so the director alone, it's very itemized, it's 26,000. The summer camp is 40,000, so we already have a total there that is not, we don't have these services. So, yes, they're doing a lot, I'm not saying they're not. But they canceled 70,000 for this summer, okay? And they're doing 46,000, so that's my point. I think it should reflect accurate, especially we're July 10th. We know it, and this is supposed to be a backdated contract, that's my personal opinion. And then next year, let's have something that really reflects what we're gonna have, right? So that's my point of view, but I'm all for the parks, I love them, I love maintaining them, I just think it needs to be accurate. So. My 2 cents.
Ralph, any thoughts?
Well. We don't have a director. And they're charging us for it.
I mean, I look at it like my own bills.
What would you like to do? I'm happy to put this up. If you want for the vote tonight, or we could go back and just take another look at it. Bring it back in August, since it doesn't really.
Everybody what they wanna do, I mean, they have a lot of expenses that
Mhm.
they tie to their park and rec.
Right,
Right here, it's over $100,000, not including their summer camp. It's all part of their park and rec expenses.
Think we should.
And you know what?
Yeah.
We need to help the village and keep them going, that everybody in the town uses all the facilities. So,
And I think part of the other thing is just the budget cycle between the village and the town. They've
Mhm.
already had a need to adopt their budget.
It's-
Beginning May.
yeah, just so that people understand, the village is on a different budget cycle from the
Mhm,
town,
because they have
and it
to
is
be.
very inconvenient, because.
Mhm.
Ours is January 1 to December 31. It was very simple, very easy to understand. Theirs sort of goes in the middle of the summer.
Oh, well, I don't think this handwritten crossed out of this year is something I could vote on, just,
I got that.
yeah, well, I'm just saying, I don't see how it could even come up for a vote because. It's not
Those,
a contract.
those are,
they
no,
were just notes.
those are the revised, those would be, if the board were to authorize me to sign a rec contract with a 3% increase, those are the numbers.
Right.
It's last year's with 3% added.
I mean, maybe we don't wanna do the 3% increase, I don't know,
I mean, go with 40,000 and
but I know we need to do something.
Yeah.
Because they have all these expenses to keep all of it going,
I would go along
and
with
it's
that.
never gonna be perfect.
You want to make a motion to approve the contract without a 3% increase?
How's everybody feel about that?
I would go for that.
Do you want to, I'm looking for a motion.
So moved, but approve
Second.
it without the 3% increase.
Okay. Could we conduct a roll call on that?
Yes. Okay. Supervisor Kenneth,
Aye.
Councilman Morrison,
Aye.
Councilman Fideli,
Aye.
Councilman Winkler,
Nay,
Councilman Mayville.
Aye.
Okay. The next item is the petition to amend the town of Northeast zoning code for the country inn and venue. And we have Mr. King with us, and I think your attorneys are also.
Peter Tanner from Remington.
Right, and why don't you start by just, the board has heard knows what you're proposing. We've got a lot of things that we have to go through in terms of the legalities of it and how we want to review it. Your attorneys have proposed some zoning changes. We almost inevitably would never take those just sure, whatever you want. We would have our attorney go through those. We may want a planner that we have worked with to look at this. But we also want to move along.
Yeah.
Because I know you want to move along and we want to move along. But why don't you go ahead and tell us where you are at the moment?
First off, have you guys all seen the petition or do you need a copy of it?
The documents that your
Yes.
attorneys handed out,
Right,
they all have them.
again, Peter Sander, here with me
Hello,
from Rennie Engineering, who's been helping us with this. Josh Mackey, who you all met at the last meeting, 2 meetings ago, was part of the Jonas Smith, he's traveling. But, you know, as we kind of highlighted during the last conversation, what we're proposing is an amendment to 180-40, which is country inn amendment that already exists in the code. And just looking to make some minor revisions to that. Currently in that code, it qualifies that it's property of 20+ acres. It qualifies that it's, you know, those those A5A and R3A properties are on 199, 44, and 22. And what we're asking is to expand that a little bit. So we're asking to expand 199, 44, and 22 to also include Old Route 22. And we're asking the existing code qualifies that you can repurpose a dwelling or a barn or a structure that's on the property to turn it into a country inn. And we're asking simply that we can also build a new structure that's consistent with the agricultural nature of the property and making it fit in with the aesthetic of the land and maintaining the beautiful farmland in the area. So add new structure as well as instead of just building one large structure, also being able to tuck some cottages onto the property, but not exceeding the 24 units that currently is outlined in the existing country inn code. So just staying true to that. And then we've introduced an amendment as well that follows very similar language to all of the things that are required for a country inn to also be able to have the property act as an event venue. In the packet that we shared with you all, we had a map in there that shows the town of Northeast, and all the green is all of the properties that qualify currently within the town of Northeast. So certainly not a situation of spot zoning, because it applies to a lot of existing properties, and obviously the existing country inn code already does as well. So we're not looking to do any kind of spot zoning type things specifically from that. Anything I missed?
Yeah, nothing that you missed, but just to add into it, that this really does kind of enhance the agricultural value of the town of Northeast land. Provides a little bit of flexibility for people with these larger parcels to do something that will bring people out to the town of Northeast and get to enjoy it. Right, like these event venues, my sister got married on a farm. There's dozens of farm parcels in the town of Northeast. It's beautiful land. And we just think it's a perfect opportunity to allow people to own these larger lots to get a little bit of revenue in a way that is compliant with zoning, and that the town gets a chance to look at it and approve a site plan and make sure that everything does comply and that there won't be any hazards or negative effects of going ahead and converting these properties. So with that, we happy to answer any questions.
I'll pepper in two other thoughts that as you were talking, I thought of. The country inn code that's currently in place, and we're not proposing to change that, has special permit approval first. So it's not like we're asking for carte blanche to go do something absurd on the property. It would simply go through special use permit. And the other thing, and I mentioned this the last time I stood up here, is the 2019 comprehensive town plan. Every single thing that we've outlined in the code is lifted directly from the comprehensive town plan. So again, haven't gone rogue on anything that hasn't already been published and approved by the town, and seemingly is something that the town is interested in.
Great. Yeah, as we discussed at the last meeting, when this came up, the town, I think I speak for the town board, saying we're interested in seeing this application get moved forward, get some flesh on it. One of the things which I referred to before, which I come back to, is we have several planners that we work with. And one of them, Nan Stolzenberg, has helped us a lot with the rezoning of the business district. And is somebody who has a lot of expertise in this type of thing. And we would, I think, very much like to get her take on this and her suggestions. Warren, how do we proceed? I want to continue to do whatever we can to be expeditious and not delay any more than the wheels of government do. This, you know, this petitioner.
Yeah. So basically what we have is an application for an amendment to our code as described. To amend section 180-40. And to expand the country inn, the current country inn provisions. To accommodate more expanded types of uses. And it would apply to the A5A and the R3A district. And to also have a new section to the code for event venues. So the first step would be to amend our zoning code to allow this type of development in the R3A and in the A5A and the R3A zoning district. It's not at this point, a site-specific proposal. The request is by a property owner for a rezoning under our code. Unfortunately, we don't have a very good provision in our current code, which is quite old and out of date. For zoning amendments of other municipalities have more specific criteria and provisions for amending the code on petition. But I looked at what was done, and the code provisions that have been suggested seem reasonable. I think they would be a benefit to the community. It would allow for a certain type of more intensive use in those areas, which would be consistent with the rural nature of the of those two zoning districts. So I have no objection from a legal standpoint in moving ahead with the local law adoption process to amend the code. Once that has been done, and if the town board approves that, then this property owner could apply for the expanded country inn use for his property, as well as the event, rural event venue. But it applies not only to this property, it applies to all of the properties that meet these criteria in these two districts. So it is a legislative act. I had prepared a resolution accepting the application for purposes of commencement of the local law adoption process. It's not we will not be reviewing a site-specific proposal. We will be reviewing the proposal and the environmental impacts to the best that we can of the amendment to the code. It's, in my opinion, it's type 1 action under seeker. You provided a full environmental assessment form, which is fine. I think the best step in dealing with this is to have our consultants take a preliminary look at this. So we don't get too far along in the process and find that we have disagreement from our engineer or from Dan Stolzenberg or from me with regard to the zoning provisions. We also need to refer it to, although it's not in our code, it should be referred, in my opinion, to the planning board for its preliminary review. And I think they did a pretty good job on the code provisions. So I think we could send it on to county planning for its preliminary review if they decide they want to jump in at this point. They may not. We would send that on to the county planning with the part 1 of the full environmental assessment form. So the resolution that I prepared is the commencement of this process. With the warning that it's a legislative act. Which means that it's the town board can move forward with it and. Not approve it at any time in the process. You understand that? I think if we follow getting our, what I've outlined in the resolution of getting the input from the planning board, county planning, our Nan, I'm sure will be very helpful. I don't know if our engineer is gonna want to weigh in on it, but it's possible. And then we can take a closer look at this and see if it needs to be amended before we move forward with a public hearing on the law. I would take what you have prepared and just reface that with any changes that we make to that to a proposed local law amending our zoning code to allow for these two provisions. I put in the resolution that I didn't feel it was it constitutes spot zoning because it applies to all of the properties that meet this criteria in the two zoning districts. It's not, it will not be a law only to allow this use. It would possibly allow different types of uses by utilization of this law, and it's a benefit to the community. So I think it meets the criteria for not being spot zoning, or potentially get complaints from the public on that. We'll have to see. And when we get to the point where we've got a law that we're happy with, we'll schedule the actual public hearing on the adoption of the local law. But we have to finish our environmental review first. The environmental review on something like this is actually less intensive in the site-specific environmental review. I'm not anticipating that we're going to be doing an awful lot in that regard unless we receive input from our consultants or from the public that there are environmental impacts of just changing the law in this regard that we need to address at this time. Once the law is passed, you make your application and we do another environmental review for your special use permit and site plan review, specifically focusing on any impacts that your particular project may have. And there may be other projects that may come in under the same zoning, and we'll deal with those. So, did you see the resolution I prepared?
Yeah,
Okay,
skimmed
all right.
it, yeah.
So, if everybody's comfortable with that, I think that would be the starting point to pass the resolution.
Yes, May.
Warren, could this align with our current zoning changes? Because like on the event part, like the House Country Inn to me is very straightforward. But the event part, so it aligns with our pending amendments, like for illumination, parking, noise and those things.
Well, we're gonna have to look at that. That will, I haven't done an intensive review to see how consistent it is with our current comprehensive plan on our proposed zoning amendments. Most of the zoning amendments that we're doing now relate to the Boulevard District and not to this, but there are certain other changes. But I haven't been able to dig in on that and look at that. And that's something that Nan may be able to help us with as we go through it. Certainly we're not going to pass anything that's inconsistent with what we're doing now and with our other changes in the comprehensive plan. But at some point you have to get the process started. And I think this is the best way to proceed and get our consultants to started on looking at this to see any preliminary questions such as that and comments. That way, when we actually do the local law, we've got the benefit of everybody's input. And it would expedite the local law adoption process. So Yeah, to answer your question.
Yeah.
Uh,
So if the
it
board,
needs to be consistent with what we're doing on, the other aspects of the zoning amendments that we're involved in. And I think it certainly will be.
Yeah, and generally the provisions for the event do reference just meeting town standards. So whatever those are adopted, we'll just have to meet them.
And, just so everybody understands, in cases like this where there's a request for a zoning change or amendment, by a particular, resident or property owner in the town, we require that applicant to bear most of the cost of the process. So they have funded an escrow account, I think it's $4,000. And that will reimburse the town for my time, for Nan's time, and for our engineer's time. And if it needs to be supplemented during the process, you know, we make an appropriate request. So, any questions?
what I want to say is that if the board is agreeable to this and moving along, it's, you know, there's still a lot of steps. But my commitment to the applicant would be to get this out to those people that have been mentioned to get there tomorrow. So that with a little bit of luck and a little bit of encouragement, we would have as much input back by our August meeting. That may be Pollyanna a little bit, but we will try for that.
And when we send it out to everybody,
Yeah.
that I mentioned the
Yeah,
resolution,
I have the list.
make sure that we provide them with a copy of the proposed local law in their language, the letter petition from the law firm, and the part one of the full EAF and the map.
Yeah. Warren, I'll work with you on that. You may need to write the actual
Okay.
letter. And whether it goes from you or me, doesn't matter, but I want to make sure that it's correct.
Done correctly, yeah. We can get this, I'm not gonna be in the office.
Did you say?
Monday? Monday?
Yeah, I'll probably be in the office Saturday, but I'm not gonna be in the office.
All right. Okay,
So we can.
we'll work on
We'll get it
getting it out.
Thank you. Just so I understand the process, so I understood every word that you said. And being Pollyanna and assuming that we get some feedback, is that something then that gets reviewed by the board at the next meeting? We make revisions as necessary? How does?
To the
how does that-
extent, depends on what they are.
Fair enough.
If, you know, if the comments were to come back and say, this is a terrible and hopeless idea. You know, it has no place in the town of Northeast, you know, we'd have to sit back and think, why? I don't expect that, but I don't know what they would be. They might be, you know, it's a great idea, but the acreage needs to be different, or it's a great idea, but there should be more of them or less. I don't know. That's why we would be actually asking our consultant for her input and for, you know, for other input. Because that is what we need at this point. We need, you know, as much input as we can get, because it, you know, it's one of those things that it can sound great to us, and that's also when towns probably get in trouble, is it sounds great, and they just said, sure. And don't look at, you know, the details.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
So,
Thank you very much.
yeah, thank you.
I had a question. I didn't hear completely. He said he doesn't propose a letter, the petition. Did he say full EAF and the map?
Oh, you-
Yeah.
Are the things we have to send to the?
Yeah, Warren,
Yeah.
the things we have to send to county planning.
Or
I
to
think-
the,
Let me see if I put it in the resolution folder. Yeah, let me specify. I don't think I actually specified. So it would be the law that they have proposed,
Mhm.
which would
Thank you.
it would be massaged and then incorporated into a local law, but
Mhm.
you have what they proposed. there's a letter from Mackey Bucks
Mhm.
and Whalen dated March 26th that has a project narrative. And then there's a part one of the full EAF that was provided and the map.
Okay, you have the EAF, because,
I do have the
Okay.
EAF.
thank you.
Would the planning board need to have a meeting? Would the planning board need to have a meeting if it's recommended?
Yeah, this is all,
That's up to them.
I'd like to get it right off.
Send something to them,
You wanna
we
make a
don't,
copy of
we don't tell them how they handle it.
it? Do you have this? Do you,
We have the packet that
Yeah.
Maggie Butts sent us.
the only thing I didn't include, if you can make a copy of this,
Uh-huh.
do you have the map?
Yes, it's part of their,
Yeah, so if you wanna just make a copy of this, so you know that this is what happened, go ahead and give it back to me.
Mhm, mhm.
You can email it back to me if you want.
Thank you.
You have a map in there?
So you do have to vote on the resolution.
yes, we're not leaving before we do that.
Hope I
Chili.
On my way home with that detour.
Oh, that's right.
Wow, that's some detour.
That's,
It is.
yeah, Warren, well, after the meeting, I'll tell you, there's a faster way than the detour that's official. The official detour
41.
encompasses trucks. Trucks can't do McGee Hill Road.
Oh,
McGee Hill Road is much faster.
okay, I think you can put that in an.
I did.
Yeah.
I forgot about it. I'll find my way back tonight and then I'll figure out. the next one. I said, oh, shit.
All right, with that, I would like to ask,
The roll call.
the town board has received the resolution. We could have it read, but I know you've all received it, and I know particularly Ralph has read it, because we found a word that needs to come out. I think we can just move ahead on it.
If there are any. typos, correct.
Okay.
Not the,
I rushed this out this afternoon.
There's let me just have this, I just need to read the title of it. So this is a resolution accepting the application of Kristen King for certain amendments to 180-40 of the town code and the addition of a new chapter 180-40.1 of the town code, providing for approval of event venues in the A5A and R3A zoning districts.
Oh, I would have.
And could I ask for a motion to approve the resolution?
so moved. Second,
Okay, Tilly, would you conduct a roll call? on this?
Yes. Okay, Supervisor Kennen,
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli,
aye.
Councilman Mayville,
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison,
Aye.
Councilwoman Winkler. Right.
All right. Thank you. Warren will coordinate with you on getting this. I will be here probably on Saturday, certainly on Monday. And I'm happy to help get the things moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And that was really my commitment to them, is I would not, we were not gonna sit on this for a week before we send it to people.
We'll get it moving.
Yeah. Okay, the next, I added to the agenda a presentation by PCA. And Professional Computer Associates. Who have, this is where I may need help from the committee, because you've met and I have not, but I believe who have had a chance to look at our IT setup here at the town. And to make a proposal to the town as to how it could be improved and how they could improve it.
Yeah, so Chris.
And it's
Bill
Robert Shoemaker,
Yeah.
who is here, and welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bob Shoemaker. is
Thank
my
you
name.
for sitting through our board to get to you.
Well, I live in a little town too. I live just in Red Hook, so I've got to deal with the whole detour as well. Especially, anyway,
But, yeah, I'm president of Professional Computer Associates, which is an IT support company based in Red Oak. We have, we're the largest IT support company in the Hudson Valley. And we do a full service managed, IT, service. We take care of the computers, the servers, the, computers themselves, the internet, firewall. We license the software that you would use. We provide backups. We provide all of the day-to-day support. We do management of the machines themselves. We make sure that backups occur. If a problem happens and you need to call us, you call us. So we do just a complete management. We're the outsourced IT department really for you here. One of the things that we do initially is a review and a very comprehensive survey. I know you've met with Anthony. Anthony is taking his daughter to do national bowling championship out in Wisconsin this week. So I said I would stand in, and I'm happy to do it because I've been doing this for 25 plus years. And so, and we have many towns and all sorts of businesses that we support with the same kind of thing. But we come in and we do a very comprehensive analysis and onboarding, looking at each and every component that's part of your system and getting it ready to be protected. And then during that time, we may find other things that, that just aren't known. Did I hear new town hall?
Yes, yes.
So I don't know what the status of the construction is on that, but I would hope that we would be part of the discussion as far as wiring and putting things in and what to do and where to put stuff. So we offer that as part of it as well, because that needs to be done in a certain way. Wi-Fi things, the ability to have your private and your public kind of a thing. If you have Wi-Fi, you want to have the people who come in to be able to use Wi-Fi that is not connected to any of the secure information. But then, authorized users to have the private Wi-Fi thing. We take care of managing all of that. We put a special endpoint protection on each machine to make sure that malicious characters and various people don't get in, or if they do, it gets shut down quickly. It responds back to us and takes care of the things with that. Another thing that you had mentioned earlier was about the like playbook for all of your emergency responses. You need the same thing for your IT, and we help you put together that plan because you need to know if there's a data hack. And as much as I'd hate to say it happens more often than you would think, if there's a data compromise, you're legally obligated to take certain steps, notify certain things and various things of that nature. You've got FOIA responsibilities so that your emails and various things like that need to be protected so that, let's say, you couldn't just delete an email. Like you might delete it off of your computer, but yet it remains so that if someone puts in a FOIA request, it stays there. We maintain, we manage, and we work with you on all of that type of thing there. So, that's basically it. What we're offering is a 3-year agreement. It's based on the amount of equipment that you have, servers, workstations, people, software, and various things like that, which we, in the visits and discussions that you've had with Anthony, he's come up with that figures there. And then there's an onboarding fee that goes with that. And as I said, during that onboarding time, we may find equipment that we didn't detect, or we may discuss services that you want or need. So we will adjust from there.
Yeah, and I think Tilly, you're very up on learning about the cybersecurity and also your responsibilities to have an action plan, right? I forget what that's called, but that falls on you.
Internet security policy.
Yeah,
Which-
we don't have anything at this moment, so by law, we're supposed to have one as a town. Anthony explained that you would guide us to set one that you would feel comfortable with.
And training.
And training, right?
Exactly. We have it's an optional thing. It's not part of the 3-year agreement that we specified here, but it's an optional tool that can be used to be able to actually put all of your compliance statements in, and it's an active, ongoing, a web interface that you can put your things in and you can assign different tasks to different people. It's a live document basically, so that if anything were to happen, you'd be able to know exactly where it is. If laws or regulations change, you could put those new things in there, it becomes, so the training on how to use that and all that. It becomes things that we can offer you. Well,
Great, yeah, and then also, we had mentioned before that I believe just feeling comfortable in that youth service, some of the municipalities already, and Anthony had shared it was Woodstock, Town of Red Hook, correct me if I'm wrong, Stanfordville, Rhinebeck.
Mhm.
And so, you know, we're just along with those folks too, so.
You know, I mean, your needs are very similar to the needs of the other towns and communities. And we have, you know, all of our people who had worked for PCA for a very long time and have developed great relationships with, you know, with our clients and.
He mentioned the response time. We were impressed by, hopefully, for that kind of response, that if it was like a crisis, it's immediate. If it's like a help desk situation, it's like one day if even.
Yeah, well, you know, the first thing is that we have a real human being that answers the phone. Personally, I can't stand automated attendance, you know, and the worst thing that you want to have when you're having a problem is please pay attention because our extensions have changed. You know, you want, so we have somebody who during normal business hours answers the phone and immediately triages it, you know, right away, you know, it's, you know, geez, we're getting a new printer, can you have someone create a ticket for that? But if it's, you know, things are beeping, things are, you know, I can't log in or something like that, then we want to be able to get on that right away. So we triage the cases as they come. We use a ticketing system so that when every call comes in, a ticket gets assigned to it, that the end user is included on that so that it becomes a threaded document of all the things that need to be done so that we can keep track and we can follow up on it. And the typical response time, you know, is with, you know, most things, you know, can happen in the same day. But depending on the severity or the importance of it, you know, we have a particular SLA, service level agreement with, you know, stating, you know, what we're gonna.
Any other members of the board have any questions?
No, I think. Certainly an important discussion. I think, you know, Meg and I and Zoe have really looked at our current IT infrastructure and practices and realized, you know, we need to discuss as a board, so. Yeah, thank you for your proposal. It's pretty comprehensive, so.
Are there any questions that you have? Anything that is of a concern that perhaps, you know, that you feel really needs to be addressed?
That's not outlined in here.
Well, it's kind of your outline or just something that, you know, is rolling around in your mind about your current system and you want to make sure that we address that.
I have a few questions, but I want to make sure the board has had a chance to ask first.
No.
Yeah, I have no more questions we've discussed.
Yeah.
Your physical location is Red Hook?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You mentioned the software licensing. Is the software licensed to the town?
It is licensed to the town,
Only to the town?
as opposed to.
Well, to you. You said you would take care of getting the
Oh,
software.
I see. For instance, Microsoft licensing, we're authorized by Microsoft resellers. So the town would be the recipient of it. We would just be the vendor of the software.
365,
The-
which is the standard.
Office 365,
Mhm.
Central One, which is the thing that we use for our endpoint protection, antivirus, so to speak. Those things, either they're offered as a service, the antivirus, but the Microsoft licensing, for example, that would be, you know, that would be yours. Microsoft does license things now. You can't actually buy it anymore. You used to be able to just go out and buy a copy of Microsoft Office and just own it. But not anymore. Now it's a monthly subscription and you can either pay month to month. And you stop paying, you stop being able to use it, or you can do a yearly a subscription on it. You can still pay monthly, but it's an annual subscription, but if you don't have an active subscription, you can't use it anymore. And that includes email, that includes, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all those kind of things there.
Have any of the towns that you're working with, and I guess Meg recited them, have had a ransomware attack?
We have not had ransomware attacks with any of our clients.
Right, are you aware of other towns in the county having had any?
I would say yes, not just towns, but businesses. I mean, one of the things that I enjoy doing and have always enjoyed doing is the training. And cybersecurity training is something I enjoy doing because it's something we all need to know. I mean, this is 2025. We've been using email for 2 decades at least now. But the most dangerous thing is this, the mouse clicker. Because you get an email and you read it and you go, whatever, and click, that's I could put all the protections in place that would be possible, and every single thing, that you would hope to have. And yet, if the person is not educated enough to go, well, this just does not seem like something I ought to be clicking on, and they click on it anyway. Sometimes bad guys are too quick. I mean, we have software they call 0 day, that's supposed to be super protective against bad guys that are very smart and quick. But there's no substitute for training people, and that's part of what we do as well.
Would I guess your colleague has looked at our equipment, our server, our software. Does any of that require wholesale replacement?
At this point in time, I don't believe that there's any, that the server needs, the desktops, I believe there are some that are running Windows 10 that are gonna expire that we need to be replaced. And that's gonna be a part of our full-scale evaluation, is to be able to come up with a comprehensive list of hardware that we need to replace.
Right. We have somebody who we've been working with who is about to replace, Windows, to convert us over to Windows 11.
Mhm.
And would that, if we were to sign a contract with you, would we be working with both our existing consultant and with you in order to make that transfer?
She's shaking her head. which is-
No.
I'm asking you.
I know, which is what I would want to do as well. We really don't want to, you can't have too many cooks in the kitchen. So we'd say if you did it today and signed with us tomorrow, that'd be one thing, but once we are your IT guys, we're your IT guys.
Mhm.
We want to do that.
Okay, well, we'll take this back and, have a meeting about it and, hope to get back to you. I appreciate your coming out.
Okay.
And it's nice to meet you. And I didn't have a chance to talk to your colleague, so I'm just relying on members of the board who have had this opportunity and
Fair
look
enough.
forward to getting into it more.
Oh, that's good, and I appreciate that, and, the reason that we've been around as long as we have is because we are, in everything for the long term. We have long-term clients and long-term relationships there, so, this is something that we're looking forward to working with you. If you ever come up with questions that I didn't answer, or if you want to talk to Anthony, he'll be back next week after they're done with their polling.
But I guess one other question, with other towns that you work with, and you may have a town with, 20 or 30 employees. Do you have a way in which those employees would funnel questions, requests, to you, or is basically everybody at that point talking to you if they have a problem on their computer? Are we trying to resolve anything at the town end before calling you, I guess usually we do.
Oh, I see.
Usually we do,
Okay,
but very quickly we get out of our depth.
sure. I remember, one time, going into a mechanic shop and it said, if you bring it's, $30 an hour if you bring your own parts, if you watch, if you started the project yourself, it's even warm. And so we would prefer that you call us right away. There's no additional charge. You could call us once, you could call us 100 times, whatever amount. We would really prefer that your people, when they're having a problem, call us quickly so that we can resolve it, so that we're not, fixing something that someone's nephew said, oh yeah, here's what you gotta do to fix that. Just call us. There's no additional charge.
Right, no, I'm really, this is more of an internal discussion. If somebody is having a problem and it is something that somebody else is having the same problem, but they don't know that, because they're gonna call you. And the person in the other office may not know, oh, you fixed that problem. I'm just, we'll address this, but I wanna make sure that we are, in whatever we do, are coordinated.
Good point. That's one of the reasons why we do the ticketing system, because in the ticketing system, it lists the person who called in, the computer that they were working on when they did it, and, and a description of the problem, and then we, our software can correlate and make, those kind of things, and it's very likely because, we have guys, in little cubicles there. They literally can say, oh, you're talking to the town of Northeast? I was working on that same thing a couple of days ago. So, we do work together with that, but it's important to fix things once, and if it's something that is more global than just individual, we want to address it on that scale.
Okay, great. Well, I want to thank you for coming out and making the trek around the detour.
I come out here a lot. I go to Lime Rock, for the events out there, so. It's not that far. I'm just happy to do it. So if you have any other questions, feel free to call. Let me give you my card here. If I could. And then, but you can talk to me, or you can talk to Anthony when he gets back. His office is right next to mine, so I'll share with him all the things that we discussed here. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you so
All right.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Nine point one. Okay, the last item. Not list. Is the review of the proposed code changes for the business districts. We had, when we last met, we worked through a number of the items that were still outstanding. Just sort of to bring everybody back up to date on where we are with this. We're not at the end of the road. What we don't have at the moment is a document prepared by Will, which has in it all the things that we have worked on to this point. We have bits and pieces. We have, a chapter here, a chapter there. And Warren has made it pretty clear, if we're going to get your input, that you want such a document from Will. So in Word, I made that point to everybody, so that you can give us your input on this, because one of the things which we are really missing still, even though Warren has been able to be at some of our meetings, we've had 6 special meetings since the beginning of the year on this, is an actual time when we're looking to you to give us your thoughts on the whole product from beginning to end. You've commented on pieces that we have been wrestling with. But I think we need and want your take on this. This is the biggest thing that we are working on in terms of the long-term impact of it. And so what there were 2 pieces that we had talked about last time that we wanted to come back to. One was the language regarding EMD signage. And we heard from Bill Kish on that. And the other was the introductory purpose statement. It's the very beginning of the code. And I had actually gone off in the wrong direction and found the purpose statements for LC districts and more specific parts of the code. But this is the one that comes right at the beginning. And Meg had asked if Nan could also come in, and I did a rework of it. I thought it was pretty good. We took morals out of that. But you know, pursuant to your request, I did send it to Nan, and she came back with further, you know, amendments to it. And I have, so, you know, I've distributed it to everybody, and I think with that, with her additions, you know, are make it even better. So I would like to, as a first step, to, unless there are further changes to that, to get the board's approval of that introductory purpose statement. Meg, you're the one who had questions about it?
I think it's improving. There's just one sentence. I mean, I just don't, I think it's the sentence, it's so late. I understand we're tired and
Yeah,
everything too, but
No, this
just
is what we're here
the
for.
sentence in the middle, I also, they have been designed to lessen congestion in the streets, security, to secure safety from fire, floods, and other dangers, to provide adequate light and air, to prevent overcrowding of land, and I really appreciate provide a variety of housing types. I just think the other parts, I really didn't review it as from a point of view for flooding or fire or more air and light. You know, I take it from the
Yeah.
comprehensive plan to the integrity of our agricultural, our business, you know, promote housing. So that sentence I still think is a little wonky, like very archaic. Because I could see that in our safety plan to say, like, when the team comes back with, to suggest that they took that into consideration, but in the opening statement, I think we could even shorten it, you know, just a little bit more, but anyway, it's just.
Yeah, I mean, this, yeah, the point Nan made was, you know, this is an introductory thing. You know, the thing that people are gonna look at is the code part.
Exactly.
So, you know, I think it's good enough. Furthermore, this is coming back to us.
Yeah,
And if there are a few more words that we add to it or take out, so be it. But in the meantime, I would ask for a motion to approve this introductory statement as is at this point.
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I have worked on the EMD language. We're not there yet. Bill's made some very useful suggestions, and I would like to actually meet with Bill and look at this. You're gonna get involved, Bill, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna tell you, just forget it, but sure.
Anyway.
Consulting fee?
Anyway, what I would like to do is to send what we have now back to Will Agresta so that he can get us a document that Warren can look at and bring back to us, where we have the ability to continue to modify and edit and add things and take things out going forward. But I would also like to be able to send something to the planning board at this point and to the CAC. We have informally shared it, but we haven't formally sent it to the CAC or to the planning board. And it needs to go to county planning. They will undoubtedly have a point of view about some or more of this. Anyway, we have plenty of opportunities to make further changes to this. But I would like to get this to Will Agresta at this point. Edie, do you have any speeches, comments, remarks?
Speeches. I did talk to Will, and once we made a decision about, well, we obviously made a decision about the purpose statement, that I've got, and I can just send it off to you. And I just want to clarify that on the electronic signs, the code that he prepared is what you'd like to put in
For now.
for now. And, we discussed that, the way it's written now, it only allows, electronic signs on municipal properties. You understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, that I can do tomorrow morning. And, he told me that he would have something for us to review. It's not redlined, it's just text. And you have a Word document for it, in 2 to 3 weeks. And that will include the EA.
Okay. So you're gonna do the part, is you gonna do anything more than the part 1 of the EAF, or is the,
Well, Will and I worked on the narrative.
oh, okay,
It's about 8 pages long.
okay. All right. Yeah.
Well, we have to have that, because we can send it to Helen.
Yeah, but they have to have at least part 1 of it.
And that's purely, he said he needs a little more time with that.
Okay.
Yeah, the only reason I was shaking my head, Edie, is I was just thinking 4 years ago when this started.
What was I
We had no idea, or I had no idea how involved it was to look at, changing code. But anyway, I think this is a constructive way to go forward. I think we need to move forward. I think it'll be really helpful to get this back from Will in one piece. And to start getting input from other actors in this who are waiting to see something. And there are pieces still to be worked out, and I'm open to working them out. So Warren, does that sound like a plan?
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
can, that sounds like something you can.
The sooner I get it, the sooner I can
Well,
start chewing into it.
It sounds like we'll be getting it as soon as Will can turn it
Yeah,
around.
the hardest part is gonna be to take all of that and put it into a local law, because we're not just. If we were changing the entire zoning, it would be much easier, just rescind the old zoning and put the new one in, so. I have to be able to put it
What
in local.
Will has suggested, and I thought it was an excellent idea, he's going to refine his mapping of current, and sections that were changed, sections that were left alone. Now, rather than, and I'll use the telecommunications section, which is 9-10 pages long. There were very minor tweaks relating to special permits. They have to go to the planning board, but not the ZBA. So he's going to annotate that directory and not put all 9 pages of old code into what he's sending. So I think the roadmap will be most helpful,
Right,
but I think you're gonna be looking at a 200-page document.
Everybody ready? 200 pages, no problem.
Yes,
Yeah,
including the schedule.
yeah. Okay. I think that makes sense. It's the next step. We're not approving anything tonight. We're simply sending it on to Will to knit it together. Warren, do you have any further
no,
thoughts
nothing
on
at this
this?
point.
I don't know, I'll communicate with the board where we are. We'll have something back before, it sounds like we'll have something back before the board meeting. I will certainly circulate that to the members of the board. And that may be too tight in terms of being able for board members to have digested it and come back with further thoughts. I will, whatever I get, I will bring to the board. All right. Town board comments. Any comments from the board? Anything you want to talk about?
Chris, do we have any updates on when we might get quotes from the engineers for the new town hall?
No, we don't, because we are working through some other issues. with the same company.
Okay.
I will let you know.
Thank you.
Chris,
No.
Lana? No? Ralph? All right. Public comment. Any members of the public have any comments, thoughts? Yeah,
I have a thought. and-
Yes.
I mean, I have a comment.
yeah. Can you start by giving us your name?
Yes, hi, I'm Nero Cruz, I'm on State Line Road.
Mhm.
So. I'm not sure if I should be asking this, but the gentlemen that were here presenting for Country Inn. Is that something, the changing of the zoning, is that the R3? Is that rural area or is that?
Normally in public comment, we don't respond
Got
by
it,
trying to get into specific questions, but I will. Just say that there are certain roads, big public roads, that those areas are off of. They're defined in that.
Okay.
I think I'm correct in that, Warren.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you look at the current zoning, it'll, for each district, that it explains what each district.
yeah, I was here a couple of, maybe a month ago, and we were trying to figure out, about, specifically. The part where my house is located and State Line Road, because I believe. It's rural and
Yeah.
it's no commercial. But I know there was a piece of land that just got sold and things are happening and I'm just wondering. Like what's going on back
Yeah.
there?
I don't believe that piece of land is part of this.
Right, no,
It's
no, I
encompassed by
I
this.
figured that much, but because there was no information when I came in.
Mhm.
Regarding this property, I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm concerned.
Yep.
And,
Well,
I'm still concerned.
as you know, when properties change hands, even the town generally doesn't know what the new owner intends to do with it,
Right, right,
which is a source of great frustration.
right. But I'm just wondering, I mean, is. The building inspector, I mean, does he, go around at times and checks out properties that are. I don't know, being, built or have.
If
been
they are
changed?
if they are doing any building, there is a building permit which is required.
Right,
And that's when the building inspector would get involved. But if somebody just buys land and sits on it, nobody goes to check it.
right, well, I know that nobody's sitting on this land, I know this land is being, worked on and, a, signage has already been installed. Outside, I know the property itself doesn't have a number yet. And I know that this property does not have a permit that I can see.
Okay, if you send me any information you have about the property, I will make sure that it gets to the building department.
Okay, do that. I'll send you pictures.
Send me whatever you want.
All right, well, thank you.
Bill,
So that discussion reminded me of a discussion that we had a couple of meetings ago. About the lack of a zoning enforcement officer in the town and so.
Bill, just so you know, I am timing this per the 5-minute
Sure.
thing, just to stay on target.
So I'll take that as 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So I'll just ask the question, are we getting anywhere with assigning or hiring a zoning enforcement officer?
I can't answer that question to you right now.
We need one. Because otherwise, things like what you're talking about just happen, and there's nobody who's assigned to deal with it. Right. So the way that things are progressing with the Country Inn zoning amendment actually makes me very, very sad. And it makes me very sad because it has nothing to do with what they want to do, whatever they want to do, I have no idea. But we're taking zoning code that was written 40 years ago. And if you look at it carefully, you can see that it was created with a specific purpose. which was to save old houses. And now we're turning it into some other complete thing. And, you know, it needs serious attention. If you just take their language, more or less, hand it to, you know, your planner and your attorney and say, this okay, question mark, and they say, yeah, I don't see a problem with it, and you do it. You're modifying a very large portion of the Route 22 strip to allow something that was never considered before and may not be advisable. I'll give you an example. Yeah, I'll put this in the form of a question, but I know you're not allowed to answer. How many houses do you think they could build on 20 acres if this was passed as is? Think about whether you know the answer to that question. Take 3 beats and say, on 20 acres, we could build 24 houses according to this. It says, you know, they could be cabins, they could be other structures, whatever. There's no size limit on them. There's no idea that they might need to be clustered in some way or designed in a particular way. So when an applicant comes to the planning board with this zoning in their hand and their site plan, anything goes. And we have to let them do it. We don't get to work with them on it unless they desperately want to work with us, which they never do. So, you know, it's by fast tracking this and basically, you know, and maybe being a little bit intimidated by the applicant or, you know, trying too hard to be welcoming to somebody who really just wants to make some money, it appears. I don't see roots in this town, you know, particularly when you come to the meeting, you get your part done and you walk out. You need to think about what this is going to do to the town if conceivably all of those lots decide to do this thing. And that's all I'm going to say. If you just try to be the most helpful town board possible, you're not helping your constituents.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just have, I'm just directing this question to Meg. I'm interested in the information you gave regarding the ADU
Okay,
units.
yeah, I'll get your email from you,
Yes, please.
or phone number.
All right, minutes of town board meetings of June 12th and June 17th have been distributed to the board. I would ask if there are any amendments or changes to those minutes, or if there are not, if I could have a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved, okay. At that point, we are going to go into a meeting with our attorney. And we're going to go into executive session, as previously announced, so everybody is excused, and I just would like to thank everybody for coming out and sitting through a town board meeting. Another town board meeting.
Or email is town of Northeast.
Once you
I
do a
will,
motion.
yes, I'm gonna wait till everybody's out, and then I'm gonna do a motion going.
It's such a long email
Then I'm gonna Xerox all this.
for our town.
Warrant, they and leave it on the person's desk.
Yes.
Or this one.
I mean, it's on the website, you know, my email.
You give me a list of what Warren wants to have sent,
Thank you.
the things, the pieces that he wants to have sent out. I will make sure that, you know, I'll get started on that.
Okay.
Can I turn down the air a little bit?
Yeah,
Where is it?
My contacts are drying out by the second.
That's the cold side of the room too.
Is it?
you know what? I'm gonna turn this off.
Okay.
Okay, I'm turning off the AC.
So I'm gonna turn this off for a second.
And I'm gonna moving on.